They say 4 wheels moves the body and 2 moves the soul. Now you may not be a big believer of that, but there are some bikes out there that just reinforces that belief. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GT and Rider, and this is the Ducati 959 Panigale. First things first, one of the major reasons why many people would buy a Ducati is the drop-dead gorgeous looks that this bike has. I mean, there is not a single angle or viewpoint in which this bike looks out of place or doesn't look pretty. Just turns heads wherever you go. I especially like the fact that Ducati didn't go overboard with graphics. It's just a clean, organic design that just is very elegant and sophisticated, and yet drop-dead gorgeous. So I love Ducati for having that thought process in designing this bike. Now, coming down to the performance, which will be the second reason why most people would go for a Ducati. This is a 955cc V-twin or L-twin, what Ducati wants to call them. Superquadro, which means 4 valves per cylinder. And the special thing about the valves is they're not your regular valves that has the spring mechanism to actuate. These are the Desmodromic valves. It's a very interesting bit of technology to actuate the valves, and it has almost become like a Ducati trademark. It's not the most modern or the best way to actuate the valves, but the engineers of Ducati have mastered the art of making Desmodromic valves. So it also gives you that characteristic mechanical clattering sound of the valves. It's just a satisfying sound of all the machineries and mechanicals working. So you would know what the bike is going through just by listening to the mechanicals clattering away. The history behind making this 959 was that they wanted to make it Euro 4 compliant. They took the existing 899 engine, increased the stroke to make it bring up the cc's to 955, and as a result the increased stroke resulted in better low-end torque. This engine on the 899 was extremely over square. That means it has a bigger bore compared to the stroke, and that makes it extremely high revving, and also means that it produces all the horsepower very high in the rev range, but it kind of suffers from low-end torque. So Ducati, by increasing the stroke, ironed out all the lack of low-end torque, and just made this bike a little bit more rideable and a little more practical and more powerful in the process. The engine on this puts out about 150 to 154 horsepower and 100 Newton meters of torque, and that torque is available to you as early as 5,000 RPM, which makes it extremely rideable. So the engine is brilliant. I mean, it has all the characteristics of a V-twin, which is, the vibrations, the heat, the mechanical nature of the engine, but somehow you don't feel any of it on your foot pegs, on your handlebars, on the body panels, on the seat, nowhere. So it has all the characteristics and the charm of a V-twin, but packaged into a refinement of an inline 4, and that is very, very special. And kudos to Ducati for making it more livable for people who love V-twins over inlines. Now coming down to the transmission, This is equipped with a 6-speed transmission with a hydraulically actuated clutch and quick shifter, or as Ducati would call it, a DQS, Ducati Quick Shift. It comes as standard equipment from the factory. You don't have to purchase it separately unlike some other brands, and I think that's fantastic. It's a smooth shifting transmission. In wet, the quick shifter is a little sluggish, but in sport and race mode, they're just right. It's very satisfying to engage the gears. Right now we are in sport mode and you just saw how well the DQS worked. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, coming down to the equipment, this does come with all the rider aids, namely your engine braking control, Ducati traction control, anti-locking brakes, and as I mentioned already, Ducati quick shifting. So this bike has 3 power modes, and the throttle is ride by wire. So the 3 riding modes are race, sport, and wet. The wet being the most subtle and least aggressive mode of all 3. It only gives out 100 horsepower. All the electronic nannies are on their most active setting. Whereas in sport mode, you still have the full 150 horsepower available to you. And the nannies are a little less intrusive compared to the wet, but still very much active. And you got the full-blown race mode, which is the complete unadulterated version of the beast. And it's got all the electronic nannies and their least intrusive settings. Highly recommended only for experienced riders, because this thing has insane amount of power and torque. And if you're not really sure about what you're doing, you could easily get yourself into trouble with this in race mode. So now you can configure the EBC, DTC, ABS as per your liking on all the different modes. So they're all completely customizable. And the good part about this is you could change over between the riding modes on the fly, so you don't have to really be stopped to switch between the different riding modes. Yeah, it does not have the wheelie control and the electronically adjustable suspension. I'm not really bothered about the electronically adjustable suspension, but I really wish that this thing had a wheelie control, because it just wants to do power wheelies all the time, you know. This thing is a monster. Now, coming down to the ergonomics and rideability, this is by no means a practical bike for everyday use, unless you're a nutcase like me to be riding this thing around in city traffic at peak office hours. But you know, it's not practical. The riding posture is completely committed. I mean, Ducati has gone all out to make sure that you get the best handling prowess out of this chassis on the racetracks. But in the process of doing so, they've made it completely impractical to use it on a day-to-day basis. The riding posture is way too aggressive. You know, it's a lot of weight on your wrist and your elbows and your back. So I would not rate this bike for practicality. But you know, sometimes your decisions are driven more by your heart than your brain, and this is one of those scenarios where the heart rules. So coming to the instrument console, it's a basic instrument console. No fancy LCDs and colored monitors on this. Almost like a calculator-ish kind of a display, but it has all the information you need out of this bike. So it's all digital, by the way, no analog digital setup. So it's got your usual run-of-the-mill tachometer, speedometer, gear shift indicator, your riding mode indicator, engine temperature. It's got instantaneous mileage, the status of various electronic aids. It's also got a clock. It's got your 2 trip computers, odometer, and various other parameters on the bike that you can customize. It does not have a tire pressure monitoring system, and oddly, it does not have a fuel gauge. So you have no clue about how much fuel is left on your bike. The only way you come to know about it is a light that comes on when you're about to hit the reserve. Now, right now, and this kind of stop-go traffic condition is giving me an instantaneous mileage of about 8.4 kilometers to the liter. And I did a couple of highway hits yesterday, and there the instantaneous mileage or average mileage indicated was about 14 on a city and highway combination, and you might get a little over 14 to 18 kilometers on highway alone. So that is about your fuel efficiency of the bike. Next, coming down to the suspension, Ducati has equipped this bike with a 43mm big piston forks from Showa. They're fully customizable and adjustable, and you got a monolink stack suspension in the back with a offset configuration, which means the shocks are offset to the left side of the bike, making it more accessible if you want to adjust them. The suspension, both front and rear, are on the firmer side, as it should be on a race bike, because you want the maximum feedback and rigidity out of the bike when you're taking those high-speed corners. You do not want the bike willowing and wobbling about when you're cornering. The minimalistic cushioning on the seat does not help the fact that it's going to be quite jolty sometimes when you go over speed bumps. But surprisingly, the bike is extremely compliant over our speed bumps, unlike the street triple that I rode last time. This has a catalytic converter box sitting, and that's probably the lowest part of the bike. But still, unless it's a really bad designed hump, you do not have any issues going over them. It doesn't scrape, and it lets you glide over it with ease. You don't have to worry about it as much as you would on a street triple. Okay, now let's move on to the braking. Again, top of the line brakes, 320mm Brembos in the front with ABS, and 230mm mono disc also with ABS at the back. And the best part about the brakes is, or I would say the ABS is, it doesn't let you know that it is cutting in, but you know for sure that it is the ABS that's working and just saving your ass. I would probably like a little bit of feel on the brake lever, but you know, as long as it's stopping me safely, I got nothing to complain. So very, very good brakes, and they work extremely well with tires, which brings us to the next topic. This bike is equipped with Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa tires with 120 sections in the front and 180 section in the rear. Extremely good tires. It's got amazing grip. They're kind of a soft compound. They're not the Super Corsa soft, but Rosso Corsos are known to be soft compound tires. The tire profile is also nice and wide, and gives you a lot of confidence when you're cornering. I did a little bit of cornering on Nandi Hills, so the bike was extremely stable going down those turns, and it was just a joy to take it up in the mountains and put the bike through its paces. If I were to summarize this bike, it's got the refinement that you would expect in an inline 4 from a Japanese manufacturer, but it's all packaged and built to the likings of the Italians, with that Italian flamboyance and flair. And the bike does cost in the neighborhood of 16 lakh rupees on road Bangalore. Are there better bikes out there which are more practical, a little bit more powerful? Maybe, but I highly doubt that you would find a bike that is as good looking and evokes so much of an emotion and pride in riding one like the Ducati 959 Panigale. So with that thought, I'm going to end this vlog of my first ride impressions of the 959 Panigale. I hope you've enjoyed the video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you guys. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Share this video with your friends and other Ducati enthusiasts. Do comment on the comment section below about what you thought about the video and if you have any questions regarding the bike. And as always, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and click on the bell notification tab so that you can stay updated with all my latest uploads. This is GTM Rider, stuck in Bangalore traffic on a Ducati 959, signing off. Peace.